Greetings and thank you for inviting me. I'll make it as brief as possible. Once George Orwell wrote, "The ones who control the present control the past, and the one who control the past control the future." 1979 Iranian Revolution is being seen as responsible for introducing Islamic fundamentalism into global political discourse. Hence, the consensus among experts is that the discourse of the revolution itself was about Islamic fundamentalism. However, an in-depth analysis of the revolution at its outset demonstrates that not only the stated goal of the revolution was about democracy, freedom, independence, and human rights, which presented itself in the Islamic discourse as a discourse of freedom, spelled out by Khomeini in over 120 interviews while in Paris. Furthermore, by the overthrow of the dictatorial monarchy at the elite level, we observe two competing discourses emerges. The Islamic fundamentalist discourse, which was led by the faction of clergy and Islam as a discourse of freedom, which was led by Abul Hassan Banisadr. The social base of these two competing discourses at best could be seen at the first presidential election. When Banisadr got over 76% of the votes, and Hassan Habibi, the nominee of the fundamentalists, got just under 5% of the votes. It took 28 months the clergy to defeat the democratic leadership, which only became possible with the occupation of American embassy and Iraq's military invasion of Iran, provided its main condition for the coup d'etat against the president in June 1981, which as the result, thousands were executed and many more got imprisoned, and the reign of terror spread all over the country. In order to camouflage the coup d'etat, the IRP used the parliament to remove the president in the basis of incompetence. They presented 12 reasons for his incompetency, in which the most important were his opposition with the occupation of American embassy and hostage taking, his belief in democracy, his belief in human rights, his opposition to executions, his opposition to the ideological linchpin of the fundamentalists, which was the doctrine of the Velayat al-Faqih, and his opposition to the cult of personality of Khomeini. However, the question is why the coup d'etat, which turned the initial goals of the revolution to its head, had become the stolen narrative of the Iranian revolution. The regime of the coup d'etat has every incentive to erase this coup d'etat from the collective memory and political discourse. However, the question is why others, especially the academics outside Iran, knowingly or unknowingly collaborated with the official narrative of the regime that Banisadr was removed legally because of incompetence. I think the main part of the answer could be sought in the discourse of truth. As we know, Michel Foucault has shown that the main function of discourse in regimes of truth is to make anything outside as other, unthinkable, and unsayable. Or maybe an alteration of the dominant discourse framing these events would undermine the foundation of existing scholarly work in the field. Hence, such introduction will make decades of their work as misguided or irrelevant. So, the keepers of truth-telling have every interest to keep any narrative which challenges their truth out. Once Albert Einstein asked fellow physicist Niels Bohr whether he believed that the moon does not exist if nobody is looking at it. Bohr replied, "I would not be able to prove that it does." Foucault was interested in what he called subjugated knowledge, which he described in two forms. First, historical contents that have been buried or masked or in functional coherences or formal systematizations. And second, knowledges that have been disqualified as non-conceptual knowledges, as insufficiently elaborated knowledges, naive knowledges, hierarchy, inferior knowledges, knowledges that are below the required level of erudition or scientificity. The question is how to bring such a knowledge to the fore. Foucault argued that archaeological and genealogical method of critique can desubjugate these historical knowledges in order to set them free, or in other words, to enable them to oppose and struggle against the coercion of a unitary formal and scientific theoretical discourse. Thomas Kuhn, in his groundbreaking analysis of paradigm shift in his scientific knowledge, demonstrated that shift in scholarly consensus of this sort emerges from the continuous struggle at the belief and institutions of normal science depend on the consensus of the survival. It seems that such determination is also needed to challenge the consensus within political and academic discourse. The battle to crack the consensus on the nature of the President Banisadr removal in 1981 can be fought in exposing the anomalies between the existing historical consensus and alternative interpretations. This research had exactly tried to do that and exhume the buried and hidden facts which have made it possible to steal the narrative of the revolution. The political implications of such work could not be overestimated. And legally, it makes all the governments after the coup d'etat illegal and could fundamentally transform our understanding of the Iranian revolution by letting the untold stories to be told. Thank you very much and all the best.